All right, let's get started, Andy.
Good, cool. So, good. Welcome to our LivingDoc Goes into Overdrive webinar. My name is Andreas Willich. I'm the community manager and SpecFlow, and I'm today with Matthias Rapp, our product owner, one of our product owners.
Hey guys, good to have you in the webinar.
Good. Some general guidelines for the webinar. Please use the Q&A tool for questions. It should be somewhere down there, a button. And we will answer the questions when they're relevant to what I'm currently showing. And then we will answer that at once. All other questions will be discussed, answered then at the end. We have a separate Q&A session. Please don't use the chat for questions. This is hard for us to keep track what is answered and what's not. During this webinar, we have three short polls for you. We ask you some questions. At the end of the webinar, there is a survey. It would be very cool if you fill it out. The feedback helps us to improve future webinars and our products. And the whole webinar is currently recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel today, tomorrow, or Friday. Good. Let's start. So first, we are talking LivingDoc into Overdrive. But what is LivingDoc? Living documentation. So one specification for LivingDoc is living documentation is a suite of examples formalized into working scenarios that are automated for continuous validation. It therefore represents an always up-to-date specification of the system behavior, hence the name LivingDoc. Okay, that's a little bit complicated explanation. So a little bit simpler. You have your suite on feature files written in Gherkin. You automate this and let the automation run in a nightly build continuous integration, in a nightly for every commit, for every pull request. And with that, you get a documentation. You have your feature files, what's written, how your application should behave, like a documentation, but with this results of the execution, with test results, you get it living. You see if it's healthy, everything is green, or there are problems and some parts of the application starts to get red. From SpecFlow, we have a specialized product for this. It's called SpecFlow plus LivingDoc. And there are two versions of it. One is the SpecFlow plus LivingDoc generator, which generates a single HTML file that you can easily share. And the other one is SpecFlow plus LivingDoc Azure DevOps, which integrates SpecFlow plus LivingDoc directly in your Azure DevOps project. And yeah, during today, I will show you both and all the cool new stuff we added since the last time. So this is the point for our first poll. So it should pop up now.
Excellent. Give me a second, Andy. I'm just bringing it up for the audience. Yeah, so this is the first out of 3 polls, and we're just curious to hear from you guys if you have been using SpecFlow plus LivingDoc before. So the poll should be coming up and just giving you a few options to give us a better idea if you already know it and how much emphasis we need to put on highlighting the updates, or how much you need to get familiar with the whole thing in the first place. Good, so we're almost through with voting. I'll give you guys a few more seconds. Okay, and it looks like pretty much everybody voted. So I'm going to end the poll now. And I'm going to show you guys quickly the results. This is also going to be interesting for you, Andy. So most of our audience is new to LivingDoc, but is an existing SpecFlow user. So we have to put bigger emphasis on explaining the entire concept to make sure that our people understand how it's supposed to be used and why it should be used.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for voting. Back to you, Andy.
Good. Thanks, Matthias. So, and this was already all the theoretical part of Living documentation. Let's see how it works. So I will show you now. I'm now playing a product owner for a bookshop. So an online bookshop where you can order books, not Amazon. And we are working iterations. We are using Scrum. And in the topic of the current sprint, what we are starting tomorrow, is that we implement a shopping cart, that you can put your books that you want into a shopping cart. We are using BDD, behavior-driven development. And so we in the refinements before this plan, this sprint, we already had discovery and formulation phase for these user stories. So we already have the Gherkin files, the feature files prepared, and they now need to be implemented. We also have a nightly build running that every night generates us our SpecFlow plus LivingDoc files. So we are now here now. So sprint planning is done. Next day, we are on day one. Shortly before the daily stand-up or during the stand-up, I have usually a look at the LivingDoc, and what I see is this here. So this is SpecFlow plus LivingDoc from the generator. I see, okay, my bookshop, acceptance test. I have here on the left side my tree with all my feature files and folders like I have it in Visual Studio. And on the right side, I have my scenarios. And what I see already here, we have some passing features that we already implemented in the past, like some book details, home screen, and
existing functionality, Andy. Is that right? From previous sprint?
That's the existing functionality from previous sprint. Mm-hmm. And here, shopping cart, here is the feature. That's the topic. That's where the team is working on currently on the sprint now. As we are at the beginning of the sprint, nothing happened here. We see they are all gray. They are not executed yet because there is something. What we see is, okay, we have one scenario where we have already one step is executed. And this is because, yeah, in SpecFlow steps are global and we implemented this step already for a previous feature. So we were reusing the steps before. Yeah, first day of the sprint, nothing big happened here. So everything is gray. But what you also can see here is some nice features from SpecFlow plus LivingDoc, what enriches Gherkin and feature files. So we have here a mock-up of the screen, how it looked like. This is embedded in the feature file. So SpecFlow plus LivingDoc has Markdown support, and with that it's possible to embed here images. We have here some formatting, and what's also possible is to have links between feature files. So and this feature description says shopping cart allows to collect books from the search results. And there's a link, and when I click here, I'm jumping directly to the searching for books feature, and can see, okay, how should the search screen behave and see. So this is all something that gives you more functionality over your normal Gherkin with a plain text file.
I really like this, Andy. So this allows us to document our specification way more comprehensively in our feature files, right? So whenever we do refinement, we can start formulating our Gherkin statements, but then also think about what other information should we put in there to make it easier for the team to start developing against this and working on it, right?
Yeah, yes, right. And you can't not only use it here, we have it here in the feature description, you can also use it in a scenario description. Here in this example, we don't use the scenario description, but you can also put it there. What's also nice is we make some nice tables. So LivingDoc makes it a little bit more easier to read the whole Gherkin language with how tables are formatted and so.
Awesome. So now we have the goal set, right? We know the shopping cart feature is getting implemented. So show us how to go about it now, Andy, in the next couple of days.
So yeah, daily stand-up isn't done. The team goes back to work, and we are now on the second day. So let's again, shortly before the daily stand-up, I have a look at the Living documentation, and what I see, there are the first red scenarios, and there's already one green. So what is this green one? So we can also jump here directly to the scenario. Then I have only visible what's relevant for the scenario. So the feature description, background, and scenario. And yeah, I see. Initially, the shopping cart should be empty. Okay, this is a really easy scenario. It's also easy to automate it. When I enter the shop, then my shopping cart should be empty. Cool that the team already implemented this and did the automation. For the other scenarios, so we see, okay, they started with automation. The first steps are automated and already green, but some are, let's see it here on the mirror. Okay, method operation is not implemented yet. Yeah, second day of the sprint, team is still working on it. And we also see here, we have still some that are not executed. There's completely, not only the business logic is missing, but also the automation is completely missing. And for that, for such things, to give a little bit of overview, we have also here the analytics tab. And when I look here, we have some charts where I see how many of my feature files are passing, failing, then on scenario level. Okay, we have 3 failing, 3 others. And we have it also on step level where we can see the different states, what a step can have in SpecFlow. So passed, failed is okay, skipped. These are the steps that aren't executed because they failed, and we have some, okay, pending is not implemented. And then we have here certain that are unbound, so there is no step definition existing at all.
And Andy, this basically means that there's simply no automation yet available for these steps, right?
Yes. Yes, unbound and pending these are the ones where automation is still missing. Mm-hmm. Good, yeah. Second day, daily stand-up is over. Team continues. Day 3. So day 3, we see, cool. So all scenarios are already executed. Some are already green, so all steps are green and passing. Cool. Team is very fast and implementing the feature one by one. And yeah, some of them, okay, quantity changing and so still not implemented. They're still failing, but we see, okay, there's progress. When I have now a look at the analytics, you already see, okay, there are no unbound steps anymore. The automation is done, but simply the business logic is missing to get the rest of the scenarios green. That's cool.
Great. So we basically caught up with feature development. Automation is done, and now we're waiting for the features to be fully implemented.
Yeah. So let's go to the next day. This day, yeah, the daily stand-up, everything. But I got a mail from a stakeholder, and he has some questions how the search is working. And so, and search we implemented weeks ago. I have, to be honest, no idea anymore how we implemented it there. So let's have a look at on the LivingDoc. We have here, let's simply search for it, search for the search. Okay, yeah, that case, okay, we have the searching for book feature files, and the question he had was about how it works with phrases, if it's like exact match or not. So let's have a look only at this one scenario. Again, now we see only the stuff that is relevant for us with the background and the scenario. And this time, this is a scenario outline. And here we have a nice preview feature. So in scenario outlines, you can use parameters that are replaced, and you specify them in an examples table. And what I can do is I check here preview, and then these values are replaced into the correct scenarios, and it's a little bit easier for me to read. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's working like that and that. And okay, this is the concrete example how it should like. But what were the original acceptance criteria? And for that, what we can provide is you can configure the SpecFlow plus LivingDoc in a way that when you have special tags on your scenarios or on your feature level, we can link them to your work item tracking system. So in that case, we have WI for work item and then the ID. And this is a link. And when I clicked here, it's opening my Azure DevOps project with the work item. And so I can see, okay, this scenario has something to do with this user story and can bring the connects between my LivingDoc and my original acceptance criteria. Because not only you see how it should behave, but sometimes you still need the information, okay, why we did the decisions that the application should behave in that way. And so that
yeah, that comes up quite a lot, Andy. I can completely relate. I mean, just when I think about ourselves, right, we always need to go back and see sometimes why did we decide it this way, right? Yeah. So interesting.
So that's also one cool feature we provide for SpecFlow plus LivingDoc to enrich your normal Gherkin files with additional stuff. Good. Day 4, I have my meeting, answered the shareholder question, and I will meet them on day 5 again because we have a bigger meeting to discuss the scenarios. And because my team is still working on it, and I don't want to irritate the other stakeholders with the test execution status, LivingDoc has also an option that you generate one without test execution. So you have now here no test execution results, nothing in the steps, and I can use this to discuss this with my shareholders without getting in some discussions. Okay, why is this red? Yeah, we are still implementing it, and so probably you can relate. Makes it easier for discussion. What's also possible in the norm, if you have test results and you're at the moment, it's too noisy for you, you can also disable it for you, then it's also not displayed. But this is only for you now, and you can again turn it on if you want. But you can generate one completely without test execution results. And when we are about how to share this, so sometimes your shareholder stakeholders want access to your LivingDoc. There we have different features for that. One thing is, depending on how you closely work together, you can use SpecFlow plus LivingDoc Azure DevOps. So this is now in Azure DevOps. If you install the extension, you have an additional menu entry here on the left in the hub, and have now here your LivingDoc with the same features that I showed you before with the generator. And here you can select your repositories and which branch. you want to have. And the rest of the features is completely the same. The other possibility is, before I'm here also, I forgot something. Here you can also download this LivingDoc here, and you get the HTML file with all of the stuff you need. And you can also have here on features and scenarios, you see these small buttons. This copies a direct link to this feature or to this scenario into your clipboard that you can then send via mail, Teams, Skype, and so on. So
and
this is an Azure Dev.
Even more convenient, Andy, to basically collaborate straight in Azure DevOps if that's the
yes
agile planning tool that you guys are using.
Yes, you're right. The other way is you use the SpecFlow plus LivingDoc generator, and there you get the single HTML file. So here, these are for the several days, the HTML files that's generated. It's one big HTML file, but it's one HTML file that can be easily shared. And you can use this how your team works. So example, one of the demos of SpecFlow plus LivingDoc we share on GitHub pages. It's a static site host. We simply upload the HTML, it's there. But you can use what you want. You can send it the HTML per Teams, per Slack, per email, upload it to a web server, per FTP, upload it in a SharePoint server if you want. That's completely how your team is working, how your setup is. Get this one file and can put it there where you want. And makes it very flexible.
And we have seen everything already at this point, Andy, right? Depending on whatever build task you guys want to put in and do with it afterwards, it's so completely up to you.
Yeah. Your imagination is the limit where you put it. Good. And that's the point for the second poll. Matthias, please.
Excellent. Yes, sure. So the second poll is basically a question related to who you would be looking at LivingDoc with. So, when you saw Andy, that Andy is basically telling you that he is using it in every single one of our stand-ups or before our stand-ups to prepare for them, and looking at it every day based on nightly builds. But when you think about yourself, how would you use it? Would you look at it just by yourself to get some status information? Would you look at it with some other person? So that's what the poll question is about. And it's coming up right now. So take a few seconds to let us know how you would do it with. All right, I'll give you guys a few more seconds to decide. And closing the poll now. So this is an interesting one. I'll share the results with all of you. Let's take a quick look. So it seems like mostly for stand-ups and outside stakeholders is what the majority is saying, and occasionally with different team members. Most of you think that you wouldn't just look at it by yourself, which is good because that's not really what it's supposed to be doing. It should help you to make decisions with it together and derive actions from it. Good, and then I'll stop sharing and hand it back to you, Andy.
Thanks, Matthias. Good. So my meeting with the other stakeholders is finished. I'm going home. So next day, day 6, I have a look again in the LivingDoc, and what I see, everything is green. Cool. So during my absence, the team finished implementing the functionality already. That's cool. Everything is green here in the shopping cart. Let's have a quick look at the analytics. Green, everything is green, but wait, unused step definition 1. So what is this? So with SpecFlow plus LivingDoc, we brought back now a long time requested feature again, that you can see which step definitions are not used in your scenarios. So somewhere in the automation code, there is this my shopping cart is empty binding implemented, but no scenario is using this. So it's that code. And as it's shortly before the stand-up, I can now say in the stand-up, hey, to my team, hey, look, we have the unused step definition. Please refactor this out before it's get used by accident. We don't want to use that one. Probably have some other formulation for the same thing. Yeah, that's cool. What we also say here now, it's everything green. Perhaps you saw it already. We have some duration, how long the scenarios are working that I didn't mention before. And yeah, and when you're asking why are there so many tags here, what we changed now is that you can have encircling tags on a scenario level and on a feature level. And what we are now to make it better, to easily see what tags what tags a scenario have, is that we display the scenario tags and then all the ones that it inherits from feature. These inherit tags have this icon before, and you see it also on the tooltip. That's an inherit feature tag. So if you are suddenly surprised, why are there so many tags there and why they are also always repeating. Good. Now day 7, short for the stand-up. Let's have a look at LivingDoc. And yeah, still everything green. And what you see, unused step definition 0. So the team after the stand-up created a task and did it and removed this one step definition that was not used. So know that code. Yay. Cool. And looks like the team overachieved, and I need to plan for the next sprint more because sprint is going on and the main feature is already implemented. Good.
It's always good news, Andy, when that happens.
Yeah, that's always good news if you finish that quickly in a sprint. Good. And as you have now saw all the features that LivingDoc has, now it's time for poll 3. And it's about what is your most loved or the feature that makes you most exciting?
Exactly, Andy. So yeah, so this poll is about you guys letting us know based on the things that Andy just showed you. We walked you through a lot of the capabilities of LivingDoc as we simulated this sprint together with you. So let us know what you like the most, and also once we close down the webinar, you can let us know if there is anything that you feel like we should be adding feature-wise that would help you. You can also leave that feedback with us at the end of the webinar in the exit survey. But let's launch the poll and let us know what you felt like was the most useful and coolest capability of LivingDoc that you've seen so far. It's a lot of options, so take your time. This one is going to take a bit longer to read through. Okay, I'll give you guys a little bit longer this time because of the all the answers. So let's take another 10 seconds. Good. And closing the poll now. So this is an interesting one, Andy. I think it tells us that we have capabilities in LivingDoc for everybody, and everybody has a different perspective what they value the most. So it's a pretty good distribution amongst all the options. Test result summaries are leading though. All right, and
Cool.
handing it back over to you.
Yeah, and I'm heading it over to our audience because we're already at the Q&A section. So now it's time to ask questions to us. Do we have some already, Matthias?
I answered one on the fly that came up just in writing. So if there's any other questions, guys, feel free to put them in the Q&A section, and Andy and I will answer them. Okay, and there's one question coming up, Andy, and the question is, well, that's a pretty easy one. So what does it cost and how is it licensed?
Okay, SpecFlow plus LivingDoc is free, as all our SpecFlow plus products. And so it costs nothing. And for the SpecFlow plus LivingDoc Azure DevOps, you need a SpecFlow account to use it. And that's it for SpecFlow plus LivingDoc generator. You add it to your project, generate the HTML file, and that was it. No, at the moment, no SpecFlow account needed.
Mm-hmm. And also the SpecFlow account, Andy, is completely for free.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's I think you can sign up in 30 seconds or so.
We try to be as fast as we can to make this as easy as possible for our users. Okay, good. So there is another question that I want to get to. So, oh yeah, that's a good one. So can we have a look at an example pipeline with SpecFlow plus LivingDoc to see how the agent jobs would be configured and how this would look like?
Sure. So I'm showing the one from the example from Azure DevOps. So it's a really simple pipeline. The bookshop itself is implemented in .NET Core. So we have the standard tasks for a .NET Core project to build in Azure DevOps. So NuGet restore, the build, and then we run the tests. This is only for publishing artifacts, and then you have our SpecFlow plus build step. And for test execution, so the display name of the test are feature files, and for the test execution results, you have to expand advanced settings. And here is the important thing: test execution JSON path, where you need to put the path to this test execution JSON. This file is generated during the test run. And when you need the SpecFlow plus LivingDoc plugin NuGet package to your project, this generates this file, and the build step then reads out the information from there. And because of that, you get then the test execution results. All how you configure the tests, the build steps are in our documentation. You have here for LivingDoc and Azure DevOps to configure the build step in DevOps in the UI, what I just showed you, and we also have the documentation if you use a YAML pipeline, how to configure the test, the task, not the test, with all of the stuff there.
And Andy, in case some of our users are not using Azure DevOps, they can use the generator, which is a command line, right?
In that case, for every other CI system, Jenkins, Octopus, TeamCity, and what's also out there, LivingDoc generator is the tool for you. And here we have also in the documentation generate with a test result, with test results, and what you need to do. And then you have all the documentation, how to call how to install the CLI tool, and then how to use it with the different commands. So this should easily get you started.
Good, thank you, Andy. I think this answers the question. There is another one, and the question is,
yeah.
Can I use LivingDoc only for SpecFlow.net tests or also something else?
Yes, depends on which features you want. So the general LivingDoc without test execution results, this works based on your feature files. So if you're then automating this with SpecFlow or with Cucumber for Java, for JavaScript, for Ruby or Go or C, doesn't matter. This works on feature files, and yeah. Some feature files, if you want to have test results, and then also the analytics here and the unused step definitions, this is only working with SpecFlow. But all the UI features, the enhancements to Gherkin with Markdown, linking to work items, the previous stuff, this is all there. Also, if you use some Cucumber flavor. Only when then there's test execution, then it only works at the moment with SpecFlow.
Good. I think you answered this other question already, Andy, while you were talking about another one. So this was about what build servers can you use it with, but I think you answered this already while you were walking us through Azure DevOps and Generator. So I'll move on to the last one that I see currently. And this one is, what code repositories can I use LivingDoc with, and which ones can it read feature files from?
These LivingDoc works on your already on the file, so that you, at that point where LivingDoc is running and generating this stuff, your build pipeline already got the sources for us, so it can be what your system is again supporting. In Azure DevOps, it's Git and the Team Foundation source control system, or version control system, how it's called. But you can, if you have your stuff in Bitbucket or Mercurial or SVN, it doesn't matter because we're simply working based on the file. So what you're using, it will work.
Excellent. That's a good answer, Andy. Perfect. So I don't see any other questions. Oh, there's one more that just popped up just while I was saying this. And it's a long one. Let me read through it real quick. Okay, can you basically skip steps from LivingDoc is the question. So to not display them in LivingDoc.
No.
And I think this is specifically about steps, not scenarios.
Yes. So I'm reading. So okay, for the audience, I will read. On my project, I'm facing scenario outline that has same start and end step. However, some of the middle steps can be skipped based on user's answer on a specific questionnaire. My question, is it possible to somehow skip some of the steps using SpecFlow so they will not be included in the LivingDoc? If user answers question 1 with yes and skips to question 3, how to hide the step 2 question answer? I would write multiple scenario outlines. I would split this. So you can't hide this in LivingDoc. And for LivingDoc, the step is called and executed. And what you're doing here is doesn't matter for LivingDoc. So if you do nothing, then it's still green, and you don't get it out there. In that case, I would suggest refactor your scenarios and split your scenario outlines so that you don't have this skipped steps there. To also make it readable more. Then you can see, okay, many answering question 1 with yes. Then okay, we see the next thing is question 3 and not question 2 in the scenario by itself, and you don't need additional information what is happening to be able to read the scenario.
Okay, thank you, Andy. So it comes back to basically how you should structure your Gherkin statements pretty much, right? Yeah. And on that note, actually, we have a really worthwhile series on our blog by Gojko Acic, who explains, I think we now have 16 articles from him that explain best practices on how to write high quality Gherkin structures and Gherkin files. So this is worth checking out. Andy is just showing you guys the series on our blog.
Yeah.
And he talks about all sorts of different issues that you face when you're writing your Gherkins, such as how do you go about dates, dynamic date expressions in your Gherkin statements, and other things. So that's a cool source for you guys to look at when it comes to best practices on structuring it.
Yeah, I put the link to the blog in the chat, so you don't need to type it by your own.
Perfect. Okay, so I think this was the last question, Andy.
Cool. Good. Then generally, I want to point, if you want to get started or have feedback to LivingDoc itself, also go to gospecflow/ldg-overdrive. There you come to the blog post, which explains how you get it into your project and what all the cool features are. Again, in a written form. And as mentioned, we want to point out, as mentioned, we will upload this recording to our YouTube channel. You can find it https gospecflow/YouTube. Will be in the next days. And we also want to point out our new community forum, where our place for our community to exchange their experience and questions, and there also the team is looking at there. So discussing how to use SpecFlow, how to do automation, that's your location to go to. Yeah, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel that you get all the notification if you upload new videos. It's not only webinars, we also stream once a week. This is uploaded there, and various other videos of how our products can be used and what's possible with them. Good. And then, yeah, thank you for joining. Again, Andreas Willich. I'm on Twitter as Sabotage Andy. Here on LinkedIn. SpecFlow. Our website SpecFlow.org. We are on Twitter. We are on LinkedIn. Please follow us there to get all the latest news from us. What we are making cool. What we are doing cool stuff and enriching the BDD ecosystem with our tools. So, yeah.
All right. Also, thank you from my end to everyone. Please take a few seconds to answer this super short survey at the end of the webinar. It would help us a lot to let us know how we can improve the webinar, but also what you like us to do to LivingDoc going forward.
Yes. Good. So, see you perhaps in the next webinar.
Yep.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.